am from beyond. Listen, and all you desire will be yours. Welcome to Spider-Dan and the Secret Balls. Prepare for Prattle.
You know, if you love a movie, there are hundreds of people that made it lovable for you. If you don't like it, blame the director. That's what our name's there for.
I hate when people talk during the movie.
Welcome to Prattle World. I am your host, the ever-amazing, ever-spectacular Spider-Dan, and in this podcast, I spotlight entertainment's best-kept secrets that a mainstream audience may find boring. Welcome back, guys, and welcome to another edition of Comic Terry, where myself and a guest comment on a comic-based animated project whilst watching it. And I've brought back our very favourite animaniac, Dan Keatis.
Hiya!
Hello, welcome back.
Yeah,
How are you feeling?
I'm good. I can't remember what the Animaniacs actually said. I was going to burst out a catchphrase. Wabba-labba-dub-dub!
Hello,
No, wait, that's not it.
nurse.
That's it. Hello, nurse.
That was one of them. And they had the song about all the different countries. I used to like Paraguay. I can't remember it myself.
Yeah, I remember, and also something about the opening credits. There's a bit where it's we have paid for play contracts, and it's that's not funny to any child. But when I grew up and found out what that meant, I was like, that's actually really clever.
That is quite funny. Well, welcome back, and we are going to delve right into my childhood and a bit of yours as well.
Oh yeah, big time, definitely.
Well, we are going to look at the Spider-Man, the animated series of the 1990s.
Yeah, it's whenever you get into animated Spider-Man, there is a lot. It's quite ambiguous because there is a lot of it.
There's ones from the 60s, the famous one from the 60s that went on for quite a while. There's one from the 80s. There's Spider-Man His Amazing Friends. There's this. There's, Ultimate Spider-Man, Spectacular Spider-Man, MTV Spider-Man,
Marvel Spider-Man.
We could go on, and on and on and on. And, Spider-Man's made cameos in Avengers shows and various other things. It's just a mountain of animated Spider-Man.
But this, for me, is the gold standard. I mean, obviously, you are the Spider-Man fan among us, but I've always had a soft spot for the character. I've always liked him I've always been ostensibly a DC guy, but I've always liked everything Spider-Man related that I've seen. Even the Amazing Spider-Man 2 definitely has its moments.
It does. I don't hate it. I'm not sure if I prefer it to Spider-Man 3. Maybe that's a Clone Wars for future.
That'd be a good one, yeah.
Is the worst? Which one was worse out of the worst ones?
But I remember one of my first exposures to Spider-Man actually being the 70s live action sort of series. Was it TV movies or a series? I think it was
Nicholas Hammond.
Nicholas Hammond, yeah.
Wasn't it? I think originally in the pilot, Larry Hagman. Was it Larry Hagman? No,
I think it was Larry Hagman as JJ.
JJ,
yeah.
Was Larry Hagman? Is he the? No, I'm thinking he might be a different guy. But I'm thinking the. Do you remember Bewitched? The show Bewitched.
Yeah.
So the I think it was the uncle or the no, it's his boss. It was the husband's boss in Bewitched. He played J. Jonah Jameson in the pilot.
Oh, that's cool.
But then he was replaced.
I remember because I think the pilot was it was about mind control or something. But I digress. But yeah, I remember watching that and thinking, yeah, Spider-Man's really cool because I was 6 and. Everything's cool when you're 6.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, I had it on VHS. We had both movies kind of back to back on VHS. I think one of them was the Dragon's Challenge.
Oh yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
but I enjoy it. I like we said, we enjoy a lot of Spider-Man related stuff, and I thought it'd be a good time to look at some specific episodes since Venom has just been announced. The sequel that Tom Hardy is coming back.
Yeah, I mean, there's nowhere to go but up there. I mean, it's not a good. It's immensely enjoyable.
Yes,
but it's not good. So I think there's definitely there's room to grow, but I think there is enough of a foundation. To build on.
It's definitely not the worst comic book movie I've seen. It's definitely not the best, but I enjoyed it for the performance that Tom Hardy gives for the most part. Everything else, it's fine. But I enjoyed it for what it was. It wasn't as bad. Dark Phoenix wasn't great either, but again, I don't think it's as bad as everybody's making out. But there you go. But we're going to look at the Alien Symbiote Saga, I believe it's called. Parts 1 to 3.
I think it's called the Alien Suit in this one.
Alien Suit or Alien Costume?
Yeah, something like
that. We'll have a look when we play it. So we're gonna. I think should we get started?
Yeah. If you're watching along with us, we're on a black screen at the moment. It's 0000, all zeros. This is incredibly hard to get hold of. So if you have got a copy, fair play to you.
Yeah, I've got it on DVD, so that's where we're going to watch it. And this time, unlike the Superman episode we did, the episodes are going to run back to back. So
that's right. Yeah,
it's going to stream all the way through. So whichever way you're watching, just give it a go.
So yeah, join us for a triple bill. We're going to get started in 3, 2, 1, and we're rolling.
Here we go. So we've got the classic. Here comes the webs. All the CG. What did you think of the CG?
I mean, at the time, I was like, wow, that's really impressive. They've managed to mix computer-generated graphics with hand-drawn graphics. And I remember thinking that it was really cool. And I really like the fact that like the first thing you see is the web just go whoosh into the camera.
It's like you're in. It's almost like a 20th Century Fox logo or an MGM logo.
Yeah.
But it's a big web.
Yeah, and it's I was saying to you before, like what I love about this series is it's an introduction to the Marvel Universe via Spider-Man, and there's quite a lot of as the series progresses, you get to see quite a lot of the other Marvel characters, heroes and villains.
Even in the first episode, he references, I think, 4 different other Marvel properties. I think he references the Hulk, Defenders, Avengers, Fantastic Four, even the Human Torch, I think, in the second episode, maybe. So
that's awesome.
So he was already kind of setting that groundwork. And we're in. That was the intro over. Oh, the Alien Costume.
The Alien Costume, yeah, you're absolutely right.
Part 1. Story by Avi Arad and Stan Lee.
Now, obviously, Avi Arad would go on to be a producer in the films.
Yes,
I believe.
the X-Men and Spider-Man as well. Actually.
Yeah.
So he had a hand, and I think this is the first on-screen adaptation of this storyline as well. This was never adapted before on screen. This is only in the comics. So obviously they've avoided the Secret Wars crossover.
Yeah.
So this is Jonah Jameson's son, the well-known astronaut who Spider-Man saved in this very first issue, The Amazing Spider-Man. He's collecting. Yeah, he collects the element which we learn Promethium X. Which is not when I was a kid, I got a little bit confused. It's not entirely clear if that is actually the costume or it's linked to it, because they're both black.
I thought that, yeah, because I remember he does say a line that says, "We don't have subtitles on this disc, so we're just gonna have to freestyle the actual dialogue." But I'm sure he says he thinks the rock's bleeding, because you've got this big black rock and then you've got this slimy goo underneath.
Do you want to know an interesting fact? You know the newscaster here.
Always,
he is actually a real newscaster.
That's cool.
A news presenter, and he's actually in Arrested Development.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he makes an appearance. He's the kind of the news presenter on their show.
I like that.
And I remember hearing it, I went, I know that voice. And usually when I recognise a voice, it's usually from something like Spider-Man or X-Men or something like that. Mm-hmm. I really like the way that Jonah's presented in this show as well. He is cantankerous, and he hates Spider-Man for no real reason and all this other stuff. But he's still a nice human being, and he also has his his news principles, his reporting principles, and the truth, and everything must come first. That truth must come first in all the work that he does.
And we do get to see a softer side to JJ, especially where his son's involved in this episode, and I really like that. But also, it's like he can't. As soon as his prejudices are affirmed, he can't wait to jump on it
straight away. And we've got Eddie Brock in this, obviously.
Voiced by Hank Azaria.
Exactly,
Apu himself.
Yeah, well, let's not get into that. That's controversial enough as it is.
There's a problem with Apu. But, that's incredibly driven. There's so many different characters he's voiced over the years. But
so I won't hold it against him too much. But here we go. We've got The Rock is now bleeding, in fact, in the spaceship.
And this is very similar to what happened in the actual Venom film, wasn't it?
That's correct.
We've actually got...
And Spider-Man 3 as well. Well, actually, no. That's an asteroid, isn't it?
That reminds me, I remember in Spider-Man 2, John Jameson was in Spider-Man 2 because he was engaged to MJ.
That's right, yeah.
And everyone thought, oh, well, Spider-Man 3 is going to be him going into space and, the symbiote gets involved then. So I was a little bit disappointed in Spider-Man 3 where it just... just lands on Earth for no reason, right where Peter Parker is.
Well, in a way, it kind of links into John Jameson's past in the comics. He was on the moon and he picked up a kind of a gemstone he found, and he thought, "This is a lovely bit of jewelry. I'll wear this." And then he quickly found out that it turned him into a werewolf.
Oh,
so known as the Man Wolf.
So just be careful where you buy your jewelry from.
Exactly,
really.
yeah, exactly. Keep it. Oh, Aunt May, you better get down to the basement. I remember that line. I love that. So there's obviously we've just seen that the John Jameson's having issues with the symbiote on the shuttle, and it looks like it's going to crash down in New York.
Yeah,
this is pretty epic for like a Saturday morning TV show.
Yeah, we're straight in there, like quite enormous sort of peril, and we've also met quite a lot of characters very, very quickly. And what I really like about these episodes is they introduce a lot of characters. And it weaves them into the story very, very well, and it
uses the time very efficiently.
Yeah, and it just made me think about like Spider-Man 3 and Amazing Spider-Man 2 both come into a lot of criticism because they tried to shoehorn in too many villains, and this is like an hour's worth of content.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it shows that you can actually do quite well. Like you don't need to already we've got Kingpin, we've got Alistair Smythe, we've got Rhino,
you got Jonah, Robbie, whole Daily Bugle, you've got Aunt May waiting at home.
And even if you've never watched an episode of this show, you can follow it. You know who everyone is.
Oh yeah. If you're aware of Spider-Man, even if you don't know Spider-Man, here we go, swinging out. Not suspicious at all. Him just swinging out of the Daily Bugle. Hey, Spider-Man came out of my building. I love how, speaking of cantankerous characters, I do love how Hank Azaria portrays Eddie Brock.
He does, yeah. It's really good.
Opportunistic, cranky New York journalist. He's more of like a sensationalist kind of journalist.
Yeah.
He's just after, the next big story, the next big break, the next big bit of money he can grab. I love that the Kingpin is sweating there because he's worried that Alistair Smythe calculates that the rocket will not hit the building, but Kingpin's wiping away some sweat.
Now this is a really creepy image. You've got these astronauts and the symbiotes crawling over them, and it's obscuring the I was going to say the windscreen, but whatever spaceships have for a windscreen.
It keeps the wind out.
Yeah, it's probably got a more fancy name than that.
When I was a kid, I watched this. I don't know if you remember. It was on Live and Kicking.
I do remember Live and Kicking. Yeah.
It was a BBC kids TV show, and they would play this, and they do little teasers and trailers for it. And I remember seeing the Rhino for the first time. I didn't know who the Rhino was. I wasn't aware of the Rhino. I didn't know all the characters yet. So this is very much my first introduction to that character. And I actually thought it was just the Kingpin in a Rhino suit. Until obviously you get a good look, and it's obviously a lot... Well, I mean, he speaks to him on the phone. It's clearly not him. And the body type's totally wrong as well. But, they don't look too dissimilar in a way. If you didn't see the kind of gut... Spider-Man's there. He's seen that the door's been ripped off the space shuttle.
It's really interesting with how censorious kids' animated series were in the 90s. But that rocket just landed and it went straight down the Washington Bridge, and there was just all these cars, and it was just absolutely pancaking. It's like, they're all dead. Yeah, everyone in those cars is dead. There's no way they're not.
We did see footage of them running, so
okay.
We've got to assume that nobody's in there.
I missed that. Fair dues. Fair dues.
No, it's fine. So Rhino's just running into Spider-Man now. He's going to kill him. Oh no! The Kingpin wants the Prometheum X.
Now, is that a thing from the comics? You'll have to forgive me. I'm not
absolutely
quite sure.
Not, as I'm aware.
Okay.
It's a totally original kind of idea. The Spider Tracer.
Yep, gotta have a Spider
Tracer. In the comics, weirdly, they don't seem to do this in this series because he has a little kind of device that tells him where they are. But in the comics, it's usually linked to his Spider Sense.
Okay,
he's keyed it in the Spider Tracer, so the closer he gets, his Spider Sense reacts to it. So he goes, "Okay, I'm getting close to whoever I need to be or wherever I need to go." There we go. Spider-Man thinks he saved the day. He's kind of gloating there. That will come back to bite him in the bum.
I really like the visuals of this. There's a real sort of John Romita Sr. kind of look to Spider-Man, which I really dig, and it's very classic, but also it is very sort of to go all John Peters 90s style. He
loved giant spiders, so
yeah. But I was really sort of, because like quite a lot of the other animated series, they've changed his body type in a lot of ways. But this is very sort of like he's not super muscular, but he's kind of stocky. He's like average height.
I think he has to be to kind of like. I do like Spider-Man. He's kind of like creepy and weird and odd looking, like insect-like,
like kind of
eyes.
Todd McFarlane.
Yeah, but I also like kind of more kind of. I think they've tried to marry. Like, he's not like weedy and like a 15-year-old because we've had that look. And then I think they have, like you said, they've married absolutely the perfect version. It is very John Romita Senior, exactly. There's the symbiote itself on his chest.
And he thinks it's just something that's just stuck, like pollution that's stuck to him, which I quite liked.
Here's the sensor now, so it's not connected to his spider sense. He's just got a little, like, LED compass, I guess.
But that's cool. I mean, it shows that, like, Peter Parker is a scientist. He invents all these little gadgets.
Yeah.
Now, in this series, it is web shooters, isn't it? It's not organic like.
No, it's definitely web shoot. Well, a little later on, it won't be.
Okay.
But for them normally it's he has web shooters and he has to reload them and refill them. And I've always liked that because I mean I get why Sam Raimi went with the organic. I get that, but I think it's another added bit of peril or problem that he has to overcome. Like the scene I was reading. I'm going to do a podcast that's coming out that should come out before this about the Juggernaut, and he crushes his web shooters.
Okay,
I believe, or he runs out. I can't remember, but yeah, he's had episodes where like it's just an added bit of so like that's taken away from him. How does he get out of the situation? But if he's organic, you could just argue that it just always works and is always refilled.
That's cool. Yeah.
So
now this little interaction with Peter Parker and Aunt May, I was rewatching this last night and I thought Aunt May really looks like Beavis, especially from the side.
Cornholio. It's the hairstyle.
Yeah, the hairstyle and the head shape. It's uncanny.
I do like that. In the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon, they actually brought the actor back. I think it's Christopher Barnes.
Yeah, Christopher Daniel Barnes.
Barnes, yeah.
And he was interviewed by the Super Nerds UK guys a few years ago.
Yes, he was. Yeah, listen to that.
He was Prince Eric as well, I believe.
He was in Little Mermaid. That's correct. I think he was in the Brady Bunch movie as well, maybe. I believe. But I think he's an incredible Spider-Man, and I think he's funny. He's charming.
Oh yeah,
and I like it as well. Like. This is probably one of the first kind of instances where, for me, like a hero went really dark and like aggressive and violent, and I was like, "Oh, this is for a young kid, this is quite edgy and quite like."
Oh yeah,
this scene here. So the suit's gone on Peter now, and he's having a nightmare about it. This is actually a cover from the original comics where the two suits are battling, and it's a scene from the comic.
I really dug that. It's like the two suits are kind of battling for his soul, aren't they? Like the true blue sort of. Yeah. This is the identity he's created for himself, but this is like his darker half coming out. And it seems like because he's been having a really sort of rubbish day, he's been blamed something he hasn't done. He's generally reviled by the Bugle, and so he's kind of resentful. And it's that thing of how the symbiote is attracted to your sort of negative emotions. And I really. Again, like that's
probably why it jumped on him in his. I never really thought about that, but you're right. He's just seen all this bad news, and this scene is straight out of Spider-Man 3.
Or Spider-Man 3 is straight out of this.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. But,
I really love that shot, and he's just looking at himself in the mirror, and it's just a little bit of emotional depth that a Saturday morning cartoon doesn't have to go into, but it did. Like it's like Batman the Animated Series, Superman the Animated Series. Like it didn't. There was no reason for it to have been this good. Like all it was basically there was for
kids entertainment.
Yeah, kids entertainment. Sell some toys.
Throw away media.
Yeah, but they were like, no, this is an amazing universe. We're going to take this seriously.
I love this bit. He says, I think the line is, "Oh God, I almost overshot the roof."
Yeah.
Because he has no, and the webbing's coming out on its own. It's coming out of the suit directly, not the web shooters. So he's understanding this, and like we've said, there's so much going on in this short amount of time. They're fitting in so much, detail, characters, plot, and it all works. And it doesn't stop for a second. Not for 1 minute are you bored.
No.
Even in the kind of the simpler scenes, between him and Aunt May or in the Bugle, where you could arguably be bored if it's not necessarily for kids.
No.
But it is plot related, and that is lifting the kind of, I think that's a fire.
Yeah, fire engine.
Fire engine, yeah.
And I remember him saying, like, I used to struggle to lift a Volkswagen. So it depends what kind of Volkswagen, I guess. But yeah, that's just a little... And again, I think having that voiceover is a really, really good way to sort of get instant empathy with your character.
Exactly. Yeah.
But the suit has just turned into a police officer's uniform. Now, that's a thing from the comics, isn't it?
That's correct, yeah. So he basically can... His suit can become just normal clothes, so he's always got it on. And at a moment's notice. That's why it's so handy. It's like, he creates his own weapon, so he doesn't have to worry, he's going to do it now here as well. This is a bit here where he goes, you make my new clothes, and then he goes, actually, make me look like the guy from Aerosmith. And then you hear, and Joe Perry of Aerosmith wrote the theme song for the show.
Cool. I like that.
That's why it's so, very heavily on the guitar riffs and stuff like that. Radioactive spider blood. Here we go. We've got Felicia Hardy here.
Now, who blink and you'll miss it, you'll think it's Gwen Stacy. So
yes.
They kind of merged the characters there, didn't they?
Yeah, she's kind of like a bit of like a socialite heiress in this. In the comics, she was basically, you would meet her and she was just a thief, and her father was a thief. She's just a skilled cat burglar. And you've got Flash Gordon in this. Flash Gordon? Flash Gordon. Gordon's alive! Not in this. Flash Thompson. Now we're seeing the kind of darker side of Peter Parker come up. He says, oh, look, he's developed a backbone. He goes, I've developed a lot more than a backbone.
And you can tell, like, what's his name? Christopher Barnes. Yeah. He's having a lot of fun with this. Yeah. And I think... when you're reading Batman comics, you hear Kevin Conroy. When I'm reading Spider-Man, I hear this guy. Either this guy or Rino Romano, who did him in the PlayStation 1 game.
Yes,
those are my formative Spider-Man voices.
Which is kind of based off this anyway.
Oh yeah, very similar.
He's just backflipping there.
Well, why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you? I mean, everything's going well for him. He's got a good suit. He's and I get the kind of the temptation as well in this, like the power and all that. It's very tempting.
Well, especially when the world's been sort of like kicking you while you're down as well. Like, it's only human to lash out, and I really like the symbiote sort of like catches onto that and exaggerates it and amplifies it. I just think that's really cool, and it's one of the things that they kind of got right in Spider-Man 3. It's certainly not terrible. But it's...
I actually quite like the scene where he accidentally hits Mary Jane in Spider-Man 3, because that was kind of like, that was the turning point for him. He goes, right, it's gotten too far, it's too much. And that's when he goes to the clock tower and does all that. Here's Aunt May saying, oh, that horrible Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's something that I was a bit jarring for me, because I'd forgotten that Aunt May's not Team Spider-Man in this iteration. Because so much of my adult life has been informed by the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films when it comes to Spidey outside the comics. Yeah,
I mean, even in recent years, she's found out, like in the J. Michael Straczynski run, which you're a fan of.
Big fan,
I think it's called The Conversation, where she finds out and they sit down in the park and talk about why you're Spider-Man, how you're Spider-Man, all this. Mm-hmm. Oh, the Rhino's back. Run into stuff, but I mean, even now she knows. Like, it's almost like for the last 34 years, she's always kind of known he's Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. I think in the recent comics, she still doesn't know again, for the most part. But control rods, it's all about the control rods.
It is definitely all about the control rods.
So he's stealing them because he needs them to experiment. Alistair Smythe and the Kingpin need that to experiment on the Prometheus.
That's right. It's only radioactive when you heat it, I believe.
Correct. Yeah, that's right. So it's a rematch.
Yeah, no, I really like the rematch with I've got these new powers now, so you ain't shit. Yeah, that's really cool.
Here's another interesting fact about the actor. I found out. I read on the IMDb all the actors that played all the different characters. The guy who plays the Rhino is one of the dads in the 70s show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, not the guy from RoboCop, but the other one, the kind of the tubbier dad.
Okay.
Yeah, not Eric Foreman's dad, the other one next door, the girls one. I can't remember, but yeah, he plays that character. So he's like, there's a great line. There's a great line earlier on where he's like, Spider-Man goes, "Where the hell did you come from?" And he goes, "Jersey."
Oh yeah, that's right.
That's a great line.
And just the delivery on that is absolutely superb as well. Yeah.
In the comics, he's actually a Russian. He was a Russian spy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Comics. But to be honest, most Marvel villains were Russian spies.
Yeah,
back in the 60s. That was just the way they were. all of Iron Man villains were Russian spies.
Yeah, Cold War stereotypes. Yeah.
Standard stuff. Crimson Dynamo, Black Widow, those sort of things. Even the Titanium Man, Chameleon as well, quite famously. He's one of Spider-Man's first villains. So, Spidey's basically going, I'm going to kill you. He's like, take me to the police. He's like, no, I'm going to murder you.
He's going to the dark place,
I think he says, who said anything about the police or something like that.
That's right, yeah.
Oh, flashback from only 30 seconds ago.
Yeah.
Just in case we forgot.
Doesn't it come into the great power, great responsibility bit as well, or is that later on?
I think that might be the following episode.
Okay. He's just kind of remembering himself and who he is.
He goes, well, to be honest, I don't, arguably, you've just, the scenes that he's replaying, watching it back now, I'm going, he just looks like they caught him on a bad day. It's not like he's done something really horrible. He's just being a bit sticking up for himself. Here we get a flash of Venom coming up.
Oh yeah, that's right. He sees his reflection in the mirror and it's Venom.
He goes, what was that?
I really like that.
What's happening to me? And that, lightning strike, and that is where we leave. To be continued.
That's a really, really strong start.
Exactly.
And it lays a lot of foundation, gets you invested in the plot, but there's also a lot of action.
I'll be honest, guys, if we've blathered on through this, not talked about the details, only because it's going at absolute, breakneck speed.
Yeah.
It just goes through all this, but it's still entertaining, it's good, you get it, it's not rushing it, it's a well managed bit of animation and cinema, really.
1995, so I'd have been 13 when this came out.
Fox Kids Worldwide,
which is kind of on the old side of the right age for it, I think. Personally,
so we're on to the next episode. We're getting a little recap from the previous one, saying what's gone on. Interestingly, this is one of the animated series. This is one of the kids shows in the 90s that was heavily censored, because apparently Canada was actually banned Batman, the animated series, and Power Rangers because they were too violent. So Spider-Man actually he only throws 3 punches in the entire show that I'm aware of.
I did not know that.
It's quite surprising, and they couldn't use kill, death, or die to describe anything. There's a great line from the Green Goblin that Spider-Man is like. I thought you were. No, but you'll soon be. Which is
really good.
Yeah, it was that's one of my favourite lines in it. And one of my friend Nathan Smith, who's been on the show, is one of his favourite lines as well.
In He-Man, they used to get around it by saying destroy.
Yeah.
But I remember and that back in those days, the 80s were a very, very censorious time, of course, Reagan era, family values, etc. And I remember, what would always happen is bad guys would charge at He-Man and he'd just, sidestep and they'd fall over. It's that's what you need all this awesome power for, to be able to step to the side a little bit.
All those rippling muscles just to slightly do a sidestep. And another bit of casting, actually. I recently watched... I've been watching a lot of musicals recently, just kind of get out of my comfort zone a bit.
Nice.
And I watched Grease 2.
Oh, yeah, with Michelle Pfeiffer, I believe.
Yeah, that's correct. And it was awful. And the lead actor in that, the lead character, is actually the guy who voices Smythe in this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had no idea, but again, looked up the IMDb. I could just hear it. Even all these clips.
It was an excellent theme tune, to be fair.
And was it Ephraim Zimbalist Jr.? Was that his name? Was that the actor's name? He played Alfred in Batman the Animated Series.
That's right, yeah.
And he played the Germanic Otto Octavius in this.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He's gone for a very German, but I like the kind of German accent. It kind of brings a mad scientist vibe to it.
Yeah, I always imagine him with a German accent when I'm reading the comics, if I'm honest.
Yeah. I love that. I love that Venom's still there, kind of waggling his tongue.
Yeah.
I honestly, Venom was so influential on me. I remember so many art lessons. I would just end up drawing Venom. Even nowadays, that's my go-to doodle. Is draw Venom. I draw a face on Venom.
It is a really cool visual. Yeah. I get why a certain generation of Spider-Man fans are so in love with the character. I have mixed feelings about him being shoehorned into Spider-Man 3, but there's definitely potential.
We'll see. We don't know what the future holds just yet. But this is so the bounty's still on his head, isn't it? Spider-Man's head.
Yeah, I don't think we explained. Yeah, J. Jonah Jameson has put a bounty on Spider-Man's head because they believe he stole the Prometheum X.
Yeah, so he's been framed.
Is that right?
Yeah, so he's been framed because Brock actually was there taking photos. But he told Jonah that he didn't tell Jonah about the rhino being there.
That's right, yeah.
So he's got his job back with Jonah. There's a $1 million bounty on Spider-Man's head, and he's willing to pay it for whoever gets it. But again, Spider-Man doesn't have the Prometheum X; he's been framed.
And these little paramilitary guys who just happen to be standing there, they've just hit him with the sonic gun, and the suit doesn't like that because we know symbiotes do not like sonics.
Well, they also don't like flame, which I think this guy's got a flamethrower. There we go. Yeah,
Quite a range on that thing.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I love that's a really, really cool bit of animation. How the suit just like zips a little bit of
just like
not quite web,
like a tendril.
Yeah. So when he is it the webs or is it the suit?
What do you mean when it comes out?
When he's actually webbing.
So the webbing is coming out the top of his hand.
Yeah.
So usually it comes out the bottom side of his hand when he's using his web shooters, and there's a classic pose, hand pose. But yeah, it's the suit is generating its own webbing. Basically.
Right. Okay.
I think it's kind of understood. I don't know if originally it was just webbing. But I think later on when they've depicted it, when they retroactively depicted the suit, I think it's a tendril that they use because
because Eddie Brock doesn't have.
Yeah, not really. But again, comics and alien suits.
But that reminds me, one thing this show does a great job of explaining is that the symbiote learns stuff from its hosts, and so obviously when we'll get there, but like it knows now that Peter Parker's Spider-Man, so it wouldn't surprise me if the symbiote knows the composition of the web fluid.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. And like it said, I know. I think Brock says in the later episode that the symbiote knows all these secrets from all these different civilizations and planets and stuff.
And that really, and I was like, wow, that's almost Lovecraftian, this idea of that the symbiote is really, really old and it's seen civilizations all over the galaxy rise and fall.
Well, it's almost, I think Venom is kind of a body horror character, really.
Yeah, big time.
There's a lot of those kind of elements to it, and it takes over the body and it's dependent on it and all that sort of stuff and transforms. But yeah, Smile's just saying you can walk around with Prometheum X in your pocket because it is not radioactive until it's heated.
Yeah, and he's just selling it to some G.I. Joe stock bad guys.
Yeah.
One's wearing a mask.
You could blow up the whole planet!
One's wearing a mask for no reason.
I don't know why the Kingpin is the actual Kingpin of crime, and it's stated in one of the earlier episodes that he runs crime throughout the world, not just New York, the world. Why is he just selling it to some hoodlums?
Yeah, you'd think he'd have bigger contacts than that.
Maybe like Hydra or like AIM or something like that I would get, but yeah. So here we go, good old Kurt Connors, who was featured in the very first episode of this, which The Night of the Lizard, that episode's called, and it's a corker. And again, it's quite dark.
Yeah.
Like there's a surprising amount of kind of darkness in this, and certainly the second season where Spider-Man goes through his mutation, his neogenic nightmare.
I like the fact that he trusts him enough to like figure out what this thing is, though. And it looks like Kurt Connors gets his trousers from the same shop as Bruce Banner as well. The only place in Manhattan that sells purple pants. Yeah.
Well, it goes well with green, doesn't it?
And a lab coat. Yeah.
I do kind of wish they kept the lab coat for the Amazing Spider-Man. I know there's like a second where he wears the lab coat.
Yeah, and he rips it off.
Kind of keep it on. I'd rather you keep it on.
So again, this is another scene that was like copied lock, stock and barrel into Spider-Man 3 where he's looking at the symbiote under a microscope.
I mean, he is like, I guess what kind of scientist is Kurt Connors? Is he like a
I think he's
chemist?
Yeah, I think so. Something along those lines.
I'd have to look it up.
Science.
Yeah, science.
Because science, Dan.
Because the weird thing in Spider-Man 3 is he's a physicist.
Okay.
He states he's a physicist. He teaches physics, I'm pretty sure. So the fact that he kind of knows what it is and can explain all that is like, I'm a bit like,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's interesting. Here's John Jameson. I'm ill. Spider-Man. Rhino.
So there was a rhino.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, so now Jameson is calling Brock out on his lies.
Yeah.
And he's not very happy about it, but he's sacked.
Yeah, well,
he's out on the street
again. It's Jameson's used very interestingly, depending on the writer. Sometimes he's just he's an outright villain.
Yeah,
or he's kind of a misunderstood, kind of grouchy, cantankerous man. But I like there's parts in the comics where he will absolutely stand up for the rights of the people and the rights of the free press, and I really respect that. And there's a great comic where he quits the Daily Bugle because he created the Scorpion. Because someone finds out he created the Scorpion, and he stands down and gives it to Joe Robbie Robertson. And then Spider-Man's like, yeah, but what about all the Spider Slayers you made? And also you created the guy called the Fly. It's just like all that. But he's like, no, it's because of that. But I think there's an X-Men storyline called Operation Zero Tolerance where he's basically, there's kind of a racist, dictatorial, fascist Sentinel, leader of the Sentinels called Bastion. And I think he tries to make a deal with him to kind of save the paper or out mutants or something like that. And he straight up says, absolutely not. I don't care if my business goes under. I will not do another kind of McCarthy-esque, witch hunt on mutants. Which again, I really do respect out the character.
Yeah, that's cool.
So Spider-Man has basically...
He's broken into Eddie Brock's apartment.
The suit's just making him a little pocket there.
That's really cool. I like that. I really like the way the suit looks as well. Now it's black, but it's sort of like ringed with
the blue. Yeah, I think that's the only way you could really animate it, I guess.
And I also like how Eddie Brock has been evicted like within an hour of them finding out he's been fired. And now we have Shocker.
Now there's something that people always get wrong about Shocker, and it always drives me mad. The Shocker is not, despite his name, is not an electrical-based villain.
It's not.
He's not an electrical-based villain. He is. His powers are vibrational.
Yeah.
So he's actually quite a good match for a black-suited Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Because of the sonics and everything. So I always think of it like this. It's to do with vibration. So I think the term shocker comes from like earthquakes and aftershocks.
Aftershock.
That's how I see it. Yeah. But a lot of people just go, why has Spider-Man got two electrical villains? I quite like the way they depict the Shocker in this, because in the comics he's quite a bit of a loser villain. Mm-hmm. He's a bit of a pathetic. In this, he is not only is he menacing and evil and dark and disturbing, he's also voiced by Winnie the Pooh.
I was going to say, Jim Mother Flipping Cummings.
Jim Cummings of Winnie the Pooh fame voices the Shocker, and he does a great job.
And he has got that sort of like quite soft, like almost serpentine kind of voice in this. It's really good,
snaky. I love the bit where he's like, man, maybe I can crawl through an air vent. And he went, wait, that's the old Spidey talking. And he just kicks the door down.
It's really cool.
So the animation as well is really slick. Smooth. It's not choppy at all. They do. Spider-Man is guilty of reusing quite a bit of animation. I think he's just that shot's reused with the Shocker there.
Yeah, I thought as well when he's with the digital shots where he's web swinging. I thought, they probably use a lot of like generic, because they're not using actual buildings, they're very generic sort of buildings.
Yeah,
but then I thought, he's grappling with the digital effects and it's in the black suit. So it's good they did new.
Yeah, it's not as bad as like the '60s one, which is literally stock footage over stock footage over stock footage. Got some more CGs looking in a microscope.
And in the 60s show as well, he didn't have any webbing on his torso. It was just on the gloves and the mask.
Yes, so they could animate it easier.
Because they couldn't be arsed drawing it all.
I love the Kingpin's headquarters as well. It's in the Chrysler.
It's in the Chrysler building. Yeah,
and there's sequences later on. I think it's in the Hobgoblin episode where like one side of the building opens up so a helicopter can fly out and the Hobgoblin can fly out. I was just like
discreet. Yeah.
And I was like, well, if you've got to have a secret hideout, I would make it more secret. Now, if you watch this, Shocker doesn't pull out his IV.
Yeah,
just
well spotted. Yeah,
doesn't take out. And he just jumps out the window.
Yeah, so Shocker's just kidnapped John Jameson, basically.
Yes. So this is to basically get the Prometheum X back off Spider-Man to kind of ransom the Prometheum X, because they thought Brock. They wanted the photos off Brock, and then they were like, no, squash Spider-Man. They kind of forget about the photos, actually. They don't really come back to it. There are a few like plot holes here and there, but
it's fine.
I still love this stuff.
That was cool. A really cool shot how it like goes out through the window and then it pans down this like digital model, and then you've got hand drawn Eddie Brock in his trench coat standing on the street. I like that.
And like you've got to think about this in the early 90s. This was probably one of the first times that these CG models were used.
Oh, definitely,
well. So it was pioneering.
I think I remember seeing some digital stuff in one of the Batman animated Mask of the Phantasm.
Yes,
in the opening credits.
Yeah, that's right.
And in the Sub-Zero one, the Mr. Freeze one, there was some digital stuff there. But yeah, It's definitely not seamless. It sticks out like a sore thumb. But for crikey, nearly 25 years ago.
If they didn't do that then, we wouldn't have what we have now.
Exactly.
They were the trendsetters. He walks in with J. Jonah as well.
Yeah.
I like. There's a great episode later on. Oh, or is it earlier on? I think it might be earlier on. Yeah, it's earlier on in this series where Smythe ties Jonah and Spider-Man together with a bomb. Oh. And it's just like any time you get like J. Jonah and Spider-Man in anything stuck together and for whatever reason, it's just gold. Just absolute gold. And he's like jumping off of cliffs and stuff and all sorts, or jumping off of buildings, and he's like, wow! All that.
I love that he's just like, all right, I'm taking my son out.
I love that they never really specify like his injury, John Jameson. They're just like, he's not very well.
Yeah.
But to be fair, if you're crashing a rocket like at that speed, you're probably going to be pretty messed up.
Yeah. He's probably horribly bleeding internally.
I love all the kind of puns they're whipping back and forth now. There's like,
yes,
it was like, if you think that was a surprise, you're in for a real shock.
And they're just like, all churches have lots of medieval weapons in glass cases lying around.
And they're all deserted and no lighting, and like they absolutely wreck this church as well. Like they're taking all the pillars up. I'm sure the thing would just there's a bit of Bayer tapestry there. That's a great shot there with all the kind of burning pieces.
Yeah, it's cool.
But yeah,
bit inconsistent with Shocker's powers. How they can make things catch fire.
Well, I have the same problem with Cyclops in the X-Men movies. Everything seems to burn when his powers are not a laser. Eddie Brock's got a mace. So. I'm gonna get you, Warcrawler. Yeah, just got a mace there. Yeah, he's like, I'm not doing it.
But he can't hit anyone with it because it's a 90s cartoon.
Yeah, he can't absolutely ruin somebody. Okay, yeah, here comes another pillar.
But I think they do a great job of having it's the art of fighting without fighting.
Yeah.
It's violence without actually showing violence.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're seeing he's dodging it, and we're not seeing any physical,
just throwing shit at each other and missing.
But it works in the anger and the passion, and he's like, it's like this line here. I think he's like, I'm going to chase you down to the ends of the earth, and
like the delivery is really good.
Yeah, like it's very dramatic, and this is for a kids show. If when you're so used to things like Masters of the Universe, G.I. Joe, this has some real stakes. Yeah, this has there's real characterization, and there's continuity as well. Like you didn't used to get that with like G.I. Joe and stuff. Things very rarely would change.
Absolutely,
unless it was like a two-parter and things like that.
They were few and far between as well.
Exactly, and even then they'd probably forget about it when a new writer would write the next episode.
I really like the spider sense effect in this show. It kind of goes a little bit sort of negativized in the background, and there's some like just little flashes of sort of like veiny, spidery, spindly.
Interestingly enough, that effect was actually some of the backgrounds from the 60s show.
Really?
Because it got really trippy and weird towards the end of the Spider-Man 60s show where he'd like go into different dimensions and stuff.
That's cool.
So some of the backgrounds were used and they're all kind of psychedelic and weird. Weren't really the best episodes, arguably. Oh, great power comes great responsibility.
There it is. I remember there's a line in this where he crushes Shocker's gauntlets. Now I think he said something like, "Try using your blasted gauntlets now." But I thought he said, "All right, I've got you, little bastard." I was like, "Wow, they went there."
So the suit has actually pushed Shocker out of the church to his doom. That Spider-Man saved him at the last minute.
He fell very slowly. To be fair.
He did.
I love this as well. How he can't pull it off.
How violent. Yeah, I mean, in the comics, that again, he was doing that. I mean, in the comics, he was in... This scene is recreated. I actually spoke to Keith Williams, who worked on Web of Spider-Man #1 recently on the podcast. Mm-hmm. And I said, like, how did it feel to have this iconic scene in everything? This is in everything. He was like, because he was speaking about Venom, and I was like, you were involved in that. And this has been used in several movies, several animated series. Mm-hmm. It's iconic now. This one little scene is absolutely iconic. Every Venom iteration, there is some form of this for the most part of this scene. And I love how the Venom, when he's not there, the kind of, it's kind of like liquid, kind of black.
Yeah, but it's
almost like a ghost or something.
And it's kind of vaguely held its form. And it's just trying to like grab him and bond with him again. Yeah. I really like that.
I love that it's just in his boxes as well.
Yeah.
Even though the suit creates absolutely everything, every bit of clothing. I'll just keep boxes on just in case.
To be fair, I would have been a bit miffed if he'd had the actual original Spider-Man suit on underneath, because then I'd be like, continuity!
Yeah. I'll be honest, I was still a little disappointed with the Sam Raimi one that they didn't use the white spider, because that, for me, that design is absolutely iconic. And I'm kind of also a little bit, I get it that it's not on the new Venom film. Yeah. It makes sense that it wouldn't be, but I still do miss that spider. Cause
me too.
And that's a classic suit, and and it always kind of comes. I think there's a new miniseries recently being written by Peter David where he's back in black. I think it's a retroactive tale. So this is where we learn that Spider-Man knew all along that something was wrong with Prometheum X.
Can we have a moment to appreciate Alistair Smythe's 90s mullet as well? That's a thing of beauty.
That is an incredible mullet.
Total flat top, little ratty bits at the back and the sides. Yeah.
I caught a bit of, the other day, Babe Pig in the City. I was around at my nana's and she put it on for whatever reason. And I was like...
Crikey, there's a pull.
Yeah, I know. And the voiceover is actually the Kingpin. Yeah, so it's like... Babe was, what have you?
A pig in a city.
Yeah, I can't remember what he said, yeah. And it's his voice, and I was always like, this is a very odd voice to have. But it's very much kind of Morgan Freeman-esque voice as well. I can't remember the actor's name, but he is fantastic. I love that the outline of, like, we've had the outline of the suit for Spider-Man is kind of a blue.
Yeah.
But Venom has a tinge of red in there.
Oh, I missed that.
Did you notice that? To be continued. So we're on to the final part now.
Yeah. So the symbiote is dribbled down, it's got hold of Eddie Brock, and then I love it when they do the thing where it pans over to a shadow, and then, because it would have been a bit too gruesome to show, so you saw it sort of like attacking him and bonding to him through the shadow. That was really cool.
So in the comics, the original version of Venom was, he didn't know he was down there. They didn't introduce Venom until a long time after Spider-Man got rid of the suit. There was a plan for it to go on various villains, like Dr. Octopus and stuff like that. That never happened.
Okay.
But there was this guy who was in various different kind of things. There's a scene where somebody pushes Parker in front of a train. Okay. And he managed to get out of the way, but he was like, why didn't my spider sense go off? And then later on they introduced Venom. And Venom is actually, Eddie Brock is actually, you remember the Sin Eater storyline we talked about in Nerdify? Do you remember that?
Vaguely, yeah.
It's kind of like a murder mystery one.
Yes, I do remember.
The shotgun and everything, and killing the Death of Gene DeWolf, that one.
Yes.
Yeah. So he spoke to the guy who was who's claiming to be the Sin Eater, the true Sin Eater, but he wasn't. And then the newspaper found out, fired him, and Eddie is Catholic, and he goes to the church to kill himself.
Right, okay.
And all that kind of self-hatred and anger and stuff attracts the dying symbiote, and it bonds with him, and that hatred of Spider-Man as well. And that's how it links to him.
Right, okay. And so there was a much bigger gap than most people who aren't familiar with the comics would assume.
And the whole kind of aggression thing and the evil and the stuff that you see in Spider-Man, that's totally... that comes out of this.
Yeah.
That was not in the original comics, because in the original comics you're just like, I've got this suit, and it would go out swinging, but you'd wake up exhausted because he didn't know he'd been out all night.
Okay.
Things like that. But there was never like aggression or evil or anything like that.
It was kind of like how the One Ring in The Hobbit was quite benign, but then in The Lord of the Rings it's all evil.
Exactly, yeah. So here we go with the intro again. It does, like, I love the Batman the Animated Series intro because it's a beautiful little mini story.
Very different to this.
But this is very bombastic as well, and very fast, and there's a lot of flashing and CG, and but you do get a good shot at a lot of the villains they're going to introduce, especially in this series.
Very much so, yeah. And I think we just got a shot from this episode in reverse of the Kingpin, where he's coming from the shadows into the light. It's very kind of Frank Miller-esque.
Yeah,
I really like that.
Well, I mean, Frank Miller did a lot of work on the Kingpin to bring him into kind of the modern interpretation that we know now. Before that, he was, still a good character, but he wasn't anywhere near as menacing.
No.
As Frank Miller made him when he brought him back. But yeah, the Lizard episodes are great as well. The first Lizard episode, even the Doctor, all of this whole first and second series for me really nailed it. Third and fourth and fifth, they have their moments, but they're not consistently good all the way through. I'd argue. So yeah, Eddie's working out. Look at those muscles.
There's a scene just like this in. Have you read Venom: Dark Origin? Yeah, that's really good. I like that.
That's a really good read.
And that's like rewatching this yesterday just put me in mind of that, and just like how he's sort of talking with the symbiote almost about how like life's been really unfair to him.
I think that's a really good. I mean, the timeline's a bit wobbly on that technically, but I consider it a bit of a sort of reboot anyway.
Yeah.
But that is, for me, that's the quintessential Venom origin.
Yeah, it's
book.
really good.
If you want to read a Venom origin, if you come out of watching this and you want to read a comic version of it, read that. And it kind of fills in the blanks and what happened in the comics and things we've talked about already. Here we go. Venom.
The actual animation of the symbiote transitions is way better. Like, they could have got away with doing far less.
Yeah.
But I like the fact that they
Challenge themselves.
Yeah, they challenged themselves and they sort of made it comic. Like the thing how it's like the mask, the face, it like looks like it's almost like eating Eddie Brock.
Yeah.
Well, obviously metaphorically it is. Is that a thing from the comics or is that something they did just for this?
I can't honestly say. When it got on Brock, he started being the powers started to change a bit, and they got a bit more menacing, and it got a bit more like aggressive and disgusting and weird. Like when it was on Spider-Man, they weren't anywhere near that kind of grotesque and odd.
And you didn't want to eat any brains.
No, exactly. I didn't need to eat brains until later.
That's obviously absent in this as well.
Yeah, that is true. That's true. Well, I love that he shocks him right into a J. Jonah Jameson sign.
Yeah, there's just a giant billboard of Jameson like pointing accusatory at the world. Looking really disapprovingly at you.
Now, you don't actually ever really get a backstory for the Rhino or the Shocker in this. They're kind of just there now.
I don't think you need. I think they function perfectly well as just like
thugs.
Quirky bad guys fight.
Yeah.
Because I mean, let's face it, with Spider-Man villains, especially early Spider-Man villains, like it's all about the gimmick, and writers have gone back and like added dimension to them and fleshed them out, but like they are all about the gimmick at first.
Pretty much, yeah. But like a lot like the kind of Flash Rogues and things like that.
Exactly, yeah.
Here we go. He's like, whose webbing's that?
I like that. How he's just, basically, I'm the new improved you.
Yeah.
And he shows it by webbing up those guys.
Shows you, I've beaten these guys, you never defeated them properly, so, without the suit, it's like, what did you say? Yeah, it says, I got up here just like you did, Parker. And he's like, what did you say? And he's like, ooh, a bit of a bully, aren't you?
Yeah.
Now, that's one thing they kind of steered away from. They kind of steered away from the geeky, nerdy Spider-Man in this.
Yeah.
He's kind of more like a general average dude, but Spider-Man, like... he could have everything he wants, but kind of Spider-Man gets in the way of that. Mm-hmm. He's got women in his life. He's not an absolute. He's still a science geek and nerd and stuff, but it's not as he's not as like socially awkward.
No. No, they sort of. I think I read it as like a little bit older, like a college age kind of Peter Parker.
I think he's supposed to be about 19, but I think he does come across more like a 25-year-old.
Yeah, it's only when he's like going in and out of campus that like gives it away.
Yeah, exactly.
He does look and act older.
Yeah. I love they get the threat of Venom across in this. The menace of him and his other villains are like absolutely terrified. You would be with much like the characters in the Venom movie. You're like, Jesus Christ, it's going to eat me.
Just a little there's just little bits like little sort of veins like sticking out through the suit, and now we get the little hint of like how old this symbiote is and how long it and how many civilizations it's seen and where not even where it's come from, but like all the places it's been.
As far as they've really in recent years they've really expanded on the kind of symbiote lore, and there's like a god of the symbiotes and various other things, which is quite interesting. They did that a little bit in the 90s, but it wasn't done as well. So I think they've gone back recently and gone, right, what can we do with this? And there's been various mini-series in recent years. I've read some of them, and some of them are pretty good. I do like that there's this kind of this history to it. I think they're called what are they called? I think they're called the Clintar. I think that's what they've called them in the comics now. They're not just known as the symbiotes. They have a race name, and apparently they weren't as aggressive as they used to be. I think is the storyline. I'd have to read up on it a bit more, but it is interesting. But I really like the stalker aspect to Venom.
Yeah.
Like the kind of that he can be anywhere at any time. He can look like anybody. Because in the comics he has like a camouflage ability, so he can literally like blend into the background.
Oh right, I didn't know that.
Kind of a chameleon aspect, as well as changing his. Obviously he gets more powers to be more of a threat to Spider-Man than Spider-Man ever realised, that he could have done all this stuff. But yeah, and that his webbing's tougher. He can't snap it. He says, "I've got new and improved webbing."
That's really cool.
All that sort of stuff, and the effects on his voice are really good.
Yes, yeah, it was really creepy,
kind of thing.
And I remember being really disappointed that they didn't do that in Spider-Man 3. His voice doesn't change at all when the mask's up.
It's just like whiny Eric Thorman, isn't it?
Pretty much.
Another link to
That 70s show, yeah,
70s
yeah,
show,
good pull.
Eddie Brock. Oh yeah, doesn't he find out because I tried to rewatch this on YouTube, but this episode I couldn't find in full. It's just a set of clips. I think he finds out. Yeah, he works in like a workout place.
Yeah.
That's it. Basically, the ad just this weightlifting ad just became Venom and tried to reach for Peter Parker.
That's bizarre. I like that.
But he knows he's a threat because again he can be anywhere at any time, be doing anything with anyone, and they do. And the Spectacular Spider-Man show does that really well as well. There's kind of a series long intro to Venom. The finale is Venom, and again he's like going after the one he really loves and things like that. And
I'll get there. Well. I will watch Spectacular Spider-Man.
I'd argue, as much as I love this, as much as I absolutely adore this, I'd argue that Spectacular Spider-Man is probably a more comic book accurate and a better show.
Okay. Because I remember when you first started out this podcast, you were doing quite a lot of work on them, weren't you?
Yeah. I saw they were going cheap on iTunes. I thought I'll do it kind of because it was. I think it was like a 10-year anniversary of it coming out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where has the time gone?
Exactly. And I was just in uni, I think, as it was coming out, and I'd had a pretty serious operation, and I basically had to sit in all summer, and that's basically what I did. I just watched that show. It's great.
Fair dues.
What do you think of Peter Parker's like fashion sense in this?
Well, he does just have that one rugby shirt, doesn't he, and the jeans. But it's better than Bruce Wayne's brown and yellow Dwight Schrute's.
Yeah, true.
He is meant to be a billionaire, and he only owns one suit.
Now, interesting thing about Venom, he does in this episode he threatens to do things like tell Aunt May his secret and reveal his identity to the world and date Mary Jane and all this sort of stuff. But in the comics, he has this weird kind of morality, this like. The only guilty party really are either the criminals or Peter Parker as Spider-Man who ruined his life. Everybody else is an innocent.
Yeah, I remember.
He's got weird twisted morality.
Innocence, yeah.
Yeah, so that's why he becomes like the lethal protector. That's when they kind of made him into his own kind of superhero. I don't know when they kind of introduced that, but he has killed innocents, or he's famously killed a security guard, a policeman. Or he did kick Venom then. He did punch him, but he did kick him. Oh yeah, bit of steam in the eyes. I mean,
maybe they had quotas, like you can have one punch and one kick per episode or something like that.
Oh, he's behind the chopper.
But again, they're really smart about sort of having fight scenes and action without being excessively violent.
Yeah. And again, the acting, for me, the acting does most of the work.
That's it. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah,
it convinces you. It convinces you that it's threatening and that this is the end of the world. You know, I remember this scene specifically because I was like, oh my god! You know, as a kid, I was like, this is one of the first times I was like, oh my god, they're going to find out who he is. The Spider-Man is over because he's about to pull off his mask.
Yes, of course, I remember this.
3, 2, 1, and off it comes. Yeah,
I mean, he does have a history of.
There's a really annoying dude here who's like, look everybody, I'm Spider-Man.
He looks like Ned Leeds in Homecoming where he's wearing the mask.
Yeah, it does a bit. He's like, and then Jonah's like, I'm going to get that wall crawling freak. But the funny thing is, he can't get the camera to focus.
You'd have thought that a newspaper editor would know how to use a zoom. And this isn't a short scene either. It takes like 2 or 3 minutes, and he's still twiddling with this bloody zoom. Yeah. But I quite like, I mean, in the comics, he loses his mask all the time. And I remember reading the first volume of Brian Michael Bendis' run on Avengers, where he loses his mask, and I can't remember who says, like, wow, you lost your mask. He's like, yeah, thank God for my average looks. Because, you know, like, it's just some dude.
Generic white dude.
Obviously, JJ would recognize. And I remember there is an episode where... in this series where he meets like a little girl who's like a huge Spider-Man fan.
I think it's called Make-A-Wish or something like that.
And he takes off his mask and she goes, Peter Parker. It's like, how the fuck do you know who Peter Parker is? He's just some dude.
But they go, oh, you took the pictures of Spider-Man? Oh, yeah.
Oh, right, fair enough. I missed that.
Now, what you didn't notice there was actually that bit of the rotor that the helicopter he grabs to cut away that suit, cut away the webbing, was actually on the other side of the building. So we couldn't have reached that. So there's a little error there in the animation. If you're watching very closely. Oh, creepy old Eddie trying to be Mary Jane's boyfriend.
Oh, of course, yeah. He was meant to have a date with Mary Jane.
Yeah, sorry I was late. Oh, as well. Oh, don't worry, I looked after her, Parker. I'll always look after her. Now, the first appearance of Venom in the comics, he literally breaks into Spider-Man's... They're married. Mary Jane and Spider-Man were married at the time. He breaks into the apartment. He looks like Spider-Man. You know, he's got the black suit.
Right.
And then he grows this menacing smile.
Oh.
And it freaks her out so much that she tells him to get rid of the black suit. Never ever again does she want to experience that. So, and then I think he even assaults the Black Cat beats up the Black Cat quite badly in another comic. So he's always been quite a menacing figure. And this whole using this stuff to menace him with knowing his secret identity was never really done. There's lots of characters, Green Goblin especially, knew his secret for a very long time. Yeah. And after Venom did all this kind of stalkery, kind of like dodgy stuff, only then did the Green Goblin start doing that sort of thing and like using that to his advantage. So like as much whether you like Venom or you hate Venom or you're sick of hearing about Venom, you know, he did change comics and Spider-Man for better or for worse.
I remember reading a comic, and I was very young at the time, must have been about 5 or 6, where it was Eddie Brock in Peter's house, and he was talking to Aunt May.
Yeah.
I'm sure there was a line where, and this is like we're going back 30 odd years now, but I'm sure there's a line where he says, "Oh, it's not often you get to meet someone so innocent." Yeah. And then Peter kicks him out the house.
Yeah.
But was this Todd McFarlane then?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, the earliest one, and then it was Eric Larson, I believe.
Okay.
And what's his name? Oh, I love it. Mark Bagley. They're the kind of 3 main Venom artists for me. I think Eric Larson's probably my favourite. Okay. So now Spider-Man's going to turn. He turns it on him. He's got the Spider-Man obsessive stuff, but now he's putting all the newspaper clippings of Brock.
Bad reporter fired.
Naughty.
That's
naughty
news.
Boy. That's real news, yeah.
I like that he smashed his own wall wide open to get Spider-Man there. That's something we've not mentioned that it states in this is that Venom is like he can't be detected with Spider-Man's spider sense.
Yeah. He's that's even more. It makes him even more of a threat.
Exactly. Yeah.
So here we go. There's the web. It's just hanging by the web.
Just dangling.
Yeah. That's not dangerous at all. Ow. I do like this. I think he has a plan. I think he has the plan to lead him to the space shuttle. Is that right? I think.
Yes, and I remember thinking like that's pretty much exactly what happens in the Venom movie as well, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
With the roar of the space,
the roar of the engine, kind of
rocket,
and then he attaches it. Well, it doesn't. I mean, he attaches it in this, but yeah, Venom is kind of already in the space rocket, isn't it? Space rocket. That's how you describe it. The space rocket.
In space rocket.
You know, in space rocket. Yeah, you're going to go up in the space rocket. But I remember thinking, God, he's going to have to because he's leading him, but his plan to lead him is not really well thought out. And it's some way for him to go as well, all the way from his apartment.
That's very Spider-Man as well, though. He's not a great strategist. No. He is always sort of like winging it and hoping for the best.
But I do like that. There is there's a loose plan. I love that Venom misses the train. I absolutely love that.
I missed that the first time I watched it.
He jumps, and now he's just big 18-wheeler. Eastbound down.
He doesn't need a key.
Nah,
of course he doesn't need a key.
This is where he honks him. I love that.
That's brilliant.
I love they kind of keep the quirky humour of Venom. Venom's actually quite I know a lot of people complain that he was too weird and wacky and funny, but that's always kind of been part of the Venom character. Yeah, is there's scenes of him singing, swinging along, singing "Strangers in the Night" and things like that. Really weird, bizarre kind of. There's all this kind of weird, odd humour to it. Yeah, he's kind of a bit kooky, and I'm glad they kind of kept that in the Venom film. I like that shot. He's just on top of the barbed wire.
Yeah, that's really cool.
It's really nice. We've got another. We're naming this the John Jefferson Space Shuttle, or so. Do they name it after him?
I think they do. Yeah.
It's a probe or something. I don't think it's not manned, is it?
I remember thinking he's just got out of hospital and you're sending him back up to space. Jesus.
No, he's there. He's not going up in it. He's not going up in it. He's still in the wheelchair. He's still going, Spider-Man, black stuff, Rhino.
It's weird how they wouldn't just explain how he's injured. I suppose it's not necessary, but
no. But again, if you'd probably still be shaking from all the vibration, surely, of the space. And
I guess, yeah.
Yeah. What happens to the other guy? You never really hear about the other guy.
Yeah, he died horribly. he was cut clean in two.
Yeah. I mean, because it looks like the symbiote's going to possess him, and then it doesn't. So I don't know what Maybe he's just in a coma or something.
This is a cool fight.
Yeah.
Boom. Webbing in the face.
All the webbing. That's probably all of his cartridge now.
I don't remember him running out of webbing in this series, which is weird.
Oh, he definitely does. There are scenes where he reloads, especially in the first episode. At the very least. There's a great episode. All the kind of one of the funniest things about the editing. Mm-hmm. Oh, here we go. Is the space rocket? Yeah.
Oh, and the suit's coming off.
What have you done? Yeah, because Venom doesn't know the weakness at this point. He doesn't know his own weakness, but the symbiote does.
Oh, that's right. And because there's that line about how did you cloud it away from my mind?
Exactly. Yeah,
I like. And that's something that I forgot happened in this. He actually removes the symbiote from him and just sticks it to a wall.
Yeah, it's going to the rocket, and then off it goes into space where nobody can have it. Oh no, there's someone in the elevator.
So wait, is that it for Venom now, or does he come back?
He does come back. Yeah. I think it's season 3, I think.
Okay.
He comes back.
So they leave him out for a long time then.
And Carnage as well.
Oh.
Yeah, Carnage. It's a weird one. It's Carnage and Venom, Dormammu, Barramordo, and Iron Man and War Machine.
Why not?
2-episode crossover, crazy stuff.
That sounds crazy.
But they don't bring Venom back after that because he kind of goes off and he's kind of happy with a woman, and they kind of go off and do their own thing.
Oh,
I think, or do they die? They might die. But yeah, just Mary Jane there looking at the moon
with her unfocused eyes for some reason, and then boom, transitions into Venom.
Could always come back. But they don't say what happens to Brock. They don't say what happened. You do find out in that. That's the end of the episode, but. Yeah, that was the Alien Costume Saga, parts 1 to 3.
I'm really glad, because you lent me these DVDs quite a while ago, and it's just life gets in the way, and I just never got round to watching them. So this gave me a really, really good excuse to dust off them,
dust off the cobwebs,
to dust them off, and to actually watch them.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think for me that is the quintessential kind of Venom story for me. You've got a lot of other stuff going on, and I think you do kind of need some other kind of plot device. So the Prometheum X does make sense.
Yeah.
But I think as a one-off episode, you could just watch the Venom episode and have a lot of fun with that.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
But I do kind of I like the introduction of the Shocker and the Kingpin and all that other stuff.
It's a really good showcase of what makes all the little idiosyncratic things that make the show so appealing.
Yes.
And I think there is an element of you had to be there, you had to be a kid in the sort of mid-90s to get the most out of it. But
my friend Nathan Smith, who's been on the show, he says the similar thing about the Goonies movie. If you don't see it as a kid, you won't enjoy it as an adult. And everyone I've talked to, I go, "Oh, do you like the Goonies?" And I was like, and they go, "No." And I go, "Did you watch it as a kid?" And they go, "No." So I kind of believe he's right on that. And I think there are certain things, and he loves this show as well. And we've rewatched it multiple times. Every so often we'll go, "Yeah, let's just put this on for a bit." And
it's really good,
and it's a great show. And
it's a really nice little Spidey fix.
It is, yeah. If you like Spider-Man, this is quality stuff. It's fun. Again, there's a lot of other animated Spider-Man projects that you can look at and have fun with, and maybe that's your preference. Maybe you prefer the Ultimate Spider-Man, or Spider-Man is Amazing Friends, which is also fun as well. It's kind of fun. That's kind of more like in line with kind of those G.I. Joe, Universe type shows, kind of one-off adventures. That introduced Firestar as well. That was a Harley Quinn type thing where she was introduced to the show and then introduced in the comics.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
that's
really
cool.
Interesting. Iceman obviously existed because he's part of the original X-Men. But as I was saying earlier about the censorship, one of the main things was they came back with a huge list of things they couldn't say or do. One of them was make sure that Spider-Man doesn't land on any pigeons when he jumps from roof to roof.
I mean, that's a really weird studio note, because you'd have to put a lot of effort in. It's not like the pigeons just happen to be in the actual like you'd have to draw them, and you'd have to animate.
Yes.
You'd have to animate them being crushed by Spider-Man. So that's not the kind of thing you do accidentally.
And it's not something you would probably show. Oh, look, squished a pigeon like that. It's pretty gross. It's pretty gross for a kids show, and it's pretty like not responsible to be squashing pigeons in New
Get a
York.
mangled pigeon under his shoe.
On his foot. One of the weirdest ones, the most annoying to me was when they introduced the Sinister Six, which is at the start of the second series. So they've introduced all these characters in the first series, and they go, right, let's combine them all into the Sinister Six. Classic line. It's not the classic lineup of the Sinister Six, but it's using the characters they've introduced in the previous show. So we've got a bit of, but yeah, imagine them all teaming up and fighting. And Spider-Man is also losing his powers, which is kind of adds to the kind of peril. Aunt May gets kidnapped. However, they felt that the word sinister was a bit too much.
Oh my goodness.
So they called them the Insidious Six.
I mean, I guess.
Yeah.
Very different. That would have very different connotations these days.
Yeah. I mean, technically, the word sinister, it comes from way back in the day. It was the meaning was you are left-handed.
Yeah.
Because obviously religious people are like, oh, you're weird and different and wrong. You must be evil. You're sinister. However, over in the X-Men, there is literally a character called Mr. Sinister. Mr. Insidious.
Yeah.
And, there's some dark stuff going on in there and some weird stuff as well. But, yeah, I do... And again, like, these New York cops you'll see are carrying around, like, laser pistols.
Yeah.
Which is kind of... And in Batman, they've got proper guns and stuff.
Yeah. I've never been of the sort of school of thought of, insulate children from the bad things in life, because... Yeah. That just leads to warped adolescence, really.
For me, like you censor too much stuff. People are going to look for that thing, and I always feel like if you've got a screw loose, no matter what you watch, play or do, if you want to do a horrible thing, you're going to do a horrible thing. You're going to go out and do that. Yeah, you may be, influenced by things you watch or inspired by, but you're still going to go out and do a horrible thing, no matter what you watch. Even if you don't know what that is or what have you. So it doesn't make any sense to me. But they always, it's everything that comes around. It's either video games or it's pornography or something, and it's always like, oh, this is to blame. This is the one thing to blame for all the violence in the world.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that children should all watch porn.
No, neither am I. But you know what I mean. The kind of it's like we said, the seduction of the innocent as well. I think 20th Century Geek did a podcast on that recently, and that was just a means to an end. It's it's a means to an end for political people to maneuver and to get more power and to be listened to. It's just a platform.
Yeah,
and it really annoys me and upsets me that they just pick something and go, that's the thing that's wrong with society. That one thing that if we get rid of that, everything will be good.
Generating outrage is, I think, a very sort of oft-used political tool, but that's a whole other podcast.
Yes, right? exactly right. So we've got a little bit of time left. Is there anything else you want to say about Spider-Man on a whole as a character, or?
Yeah, thank you very much for again getting me to watch this and re-engage with it, because it's just made me re-engage with and get excited about Spider-Man again. And with Far From Home just around the corner, I think this is a good time to get excited about Spider-Man again. And this morning I was actually watching the... you know how there's the Cinema Sins?
Yes.
I don't watch that.
No.
Too much negativity in the world. But I'm a big fan of the Cinema Wins.
Okay.
So I've been watching the Everything Great About the Amazing Spider-Man. So
nice.
I would really like to rewatch those at some point in the near future as well.
I think we could. I think we should definitely do that. And I'd like to do a lot more kind of Spider-Man content, because I seem to have done more Superman and Batman content than Spider-Man content, given the name of the podcast. Don't know why.
Yeah.
But I'd be well up for rewatching those, because I know we did them for Nerdophile way back. But I would like to rewatch them, because there's a lot of good stuff in there. There's a lot of especially the first one, I think is quite strong on its own. 2 not so much, but I still enjoyed it.
I really love that first suit as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good, with the sneakers and the homemade.
I do like it. Yeah,
the sunglass lenses and things like that. It's not a bad suit. It's not a bad suit, and it's not a bad film. I don't think. It might not be to everyone's taste, but I like when they go, right, what have we done with the first one? Let's do the opposite, or do a different spin on it on this one. So I quite liked the kind of that he was driven by finding that one guy that shot Uncle Ben. That obsessive, almost like in a Batman way.
Yeah.
He's looking for the Joe Chill character. So that kind of made it a bit more modern, a bit more real. It doesn't just go, "Oh, great power grants this ability," and I like they didn't find him as well. There's a lot of things I really like, and I like the web shooters, I like the tech. Some stuff didn't always work, but there's a lot of stuff I really like in that. Do you have any particular favorite Spider-Man stories, episodes, villains?
Now again, in terms of episodes, it's been a while since I've seen this one. It's just little as with anything that you remember from your childhood, it's just little sort of moments that just stick in your brain. And I remember there being one really powerful little moment where it was a Kingpin moment where Vanessa's walking out of him.
Oh yeah,
walking out on him even. He says, "Oh, but I love you, Vanessa," and she says, "I used to believe that, but all you love is being the Kingpin." And I was like. That's really even at a young age, I was like, wow, that's way more dramatic than I'd expect in a Saturday morning cartoon, and even then I appreciated that.
And you don't what I found really interesting about the Kingpin as well, he's there from the very beginning. He's there from pretty much from the third episode onwards, and he's always a presence and he's always there. But it's not until I think late into the third series or fourth series that Spider-Man even finds out he exists.
That's cool.
He has no idea, doesn't know there's a person. He just he'll see Smythe and the Shocker and the Hobgoblin, and he even goes into I think when he goes back into the Kingpin's base when he knows the Kingpin is there, he's like, "Oh, I fought the Hobgoblin here," and it's because he has no idea of the Kingpin's existence, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah. It's very true to the nature of the character because he is the puppet master. Exactly. Well, he's not the puppet master. The puppet master is the puppet master.
Puppet master. But no, I know what you mean. He's the kind of. I think they kind of tried to make him very much a Moriarty type character.
Excellent comparison. Yeah.
And it really works. And he's always working behind the shadows. And it's very much like the Netflix show. We don't say his name.
Yeah.
We don't say his name. And I like that he's shrouded in mystery. But he's still this overwhelming physical presence, and even when he first fights him, I think he's I think it is the Daredevil crossover when he finds out. I think.
Which season's that in?
I want to say the third series, possibly fourth. I think there's 5 series altogether. I think.
I'm just trying to figure out whether to watch them from the start or just
kind of cherry pick. Yeah. I do. That crossover works really well because I think that we're trying to springboard into a Daredevil show. Which would have been cool, and they've got a great voice actor for him as well, and that's what I like about the characters. As dark as the interpretation of Daredevil can go, there's still a lot of similarities with Spider-Man. And that's why he was created. They were like, we need another Spider-Man. And that's what you get, but with a slight twists and turns. He's a bit more adult, he's a bit more mature, and goes into the very dark noir settings where Spider-Man might not necessarily go. And they share a very good villain in the Kingpin as well. But yeah, some really great episodes. I would recommend, I think, 6 Forgotten Warriors. That's a big kind of golden age crossover. Captain America, Red Skull, Kingpin, Sinister Six, Silver Sable. Huge. I think that's in the last series. As well as the Secret Wars as well. Has some really good moments. All the Green Goblin stuff I love.
Yeah.
Absolutely love. I think it's Neil Ross who plays him, who played Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin, in The Amazing Friends as well. He played him, so he brought him back. And it's a very kind of menacing kind of portrayal of the character. And it's very split personality. The split personality, because he's got this very deep kind of old kind of senior voice. But then when he becomes the Goblin, it's very much like, it's very kind of over the top. And it's so juxtaposed and done so well, and even when they bleed into each other as well, it's really well acted. But yeah, some great cameos. Blade's in this. The X-Men crossover is brilliant as well. Start of opening into I think it's not the opening. That's the Insidious 6 storyline. But then after that is the crossover, and it's got a really good kind of Beast storyline because it's this corporation that's trying to cure mutants, but actually they're not trying to cure mutants, they're trying to kill them all.
Oh my goodness.
And Beast when he became a mutant, it's based on his research.
Right.
So he feels very kind of responsible for this company that's killing mutants. But it's great. It's got the entire cast of the X-Men animated series in, pretty much.
Nice.
And it's really good because Spider-Man's going through this mutation. It's not a natural mutation like the X-Men. So Xavier's like, I don't think I can help you because it's not what, you weren't born a mutant like we were. And there's this really nice kind of dialogue. He's like, yeah, but I'm going to turn into a mutant freak. And he's like, well, not all mutants are freaks.
Yeah.
It's like, It's like, whoa, yeah. So there's a nice little bit of dialogue and a bit of fun to be had there. But yeah, I love the show. I love the show, and I can't honestly get enough of it. The performances are great. The villains are great. Everything is lots of fun, and again, there's a lot of recycled animation, and there's a few dud episodes, but that's to be done and said for a lot of shows.
Yeah. I'm really excited about diving deep into it and just sort of like immersing myself again in, because you've let me all of them, like Hulk, Iron Man, X-Men.
I basically own every animated thing comic book related ever.
Yeah.
And I've lent down, and I think and that's one of the reasons why we can do a lot more of this stuff as well. And I want to do more in the future. And I think you're a great person that kind of knows and appreciates this.
Oh, bless
kind of thing, like I do, as much as I do. I think all my other friends as well would enjoy certain bits and pieces, but I don't think they're like as invested as you are, and like to get both feet in.
Yeah.
Deep dives.
Always happy to talk about this stuff, mate. Always.
What would you like to do next? I'm going to put that up to you. Let's do another one. What would you like to do next?
Oh, crikey. Okay.
So we can do the films, we can do the animated films, we can do series, cherry pick series.
Something Spider-Man related, or
no, anything. You pick.
Why don't we do Robin's Reckoning?
Ooh, great pull. Absolutely great pull. Yes, we'll do Robin's Reckoning. It's a two-parter, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Lovely. Yeah, I'd love to do that. Yeah, that's some really tight episodes.
Awesome.
Yeah, let's do that. Excellent.
Looking forward to returning to Prattle World.
Yes, thank you very much. Well, I think we'll end it there. As always, you can find me on Facebook at Secret Balls. Type that into the search bar, it will come up. On Twitter, I am at Dan_Balls. Instagram now, it is Spider Dan Secret Balls, all one word. Or also, this podcast is available on YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, etc., Spotify, Where can they find yourself, Dan?
I'm mostly on Twitter. You can find me at DL Keatis, Keatis, and you'll just find me being really positive, or trying to be positive as much as possible about all things superhero related, and also talking a little bit about work every now and then, because I'm a freelance copywriter.
Great stuff. Well, I'd always do appreciate your positivity on Twitter, because I know it can be a very negative place, and I like to keep a very small circle.
It can feel like poking dog shit uphill with a toothpick. Yeah.
Well described. But yes, and that's why I've deleted my other. If you've lost a follower, guys, I have deleted my other Twitter account, because I'm just not really using it. I was using it more for kind of acting work, and I'm not really doing so much of that anymore. So I've deleted that for the time being. So there's only the Spider Dan Secret Balls one. So, but yeah, you'll find me there, and Dan is there. You can probably find him where he said you can find him, or you can link to my stuff.
Come say hello. I'm lovely.
Yeah, we're all great. We're all fun, and we like any support, and watch the episodes, or don't watch the episodes, but enjoy our ramblings and our prattle. But yeah, thank you very much for joining us again, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye bye.